Warren Buffett once said that the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. This goes against the advice that many of us have heard over and over again. I remember when I first got started and I joined a new high-ticket coaching program, one of the things that they taught us there was that you shouldn't leave money on the table. And what they meant by that was if you were a service provider or a coach or a consultant and someone asked you, do you provide this service? And at that time you didn't, don't say no, because if you did, that was literally like leaving money on the table. What you should say instead, they taught, was yes, of course I do. And then after you close the deal, go out and find someone to partner with to help you to deliver on that product or service. And that's how you could expand and grow your company or your agency. I followed that advice for many years. And I always was able to provide a good service for what I had promised that I could do by partnering with other people or by learning it myself very quickly. But what usually happened is I always underestimated how much it was going to cost to fulfill it or the time it would take to learn that new product or service. And I was never able to get it to become very profitable. The reason I wasn't able to become very profitable is because I was trying to learn how to do everything. And I think there's another saying about that, right? A master of all, or a jack of all trades is a master of none. That's exactly what was going on in my business, as I was learning how to do Facebook ads and landing pages and websites and social media. And we built apps. I mean, we did pretty much everything out there under the sun with digital marketing. But we were not able to become an expert in any of those because I wasn't confident enough at that time to say, no, that's not what I do. No, that's not what I serve. And I wasn't able to master something and become the expert in one area of my business at that time. And that is exactly an example of what Warren Buffett is saying here when he says that the difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people have learned how to say no to anything that is not the main project that they're working on. I was reading the other day another story where Warren Buffett was speaking to someone and told them to make a list of all of the projects that they were working on. So this person made a list, and they had about 25 different projects they had on the list, and Warren Buffett noticed that they had circled 5 of those things. And so Warren asked, he said, well, why did you circle 5 out of these 25 things on your list? And the person responded, he said, well, those are my top 5 activities, my top 5 projects that I'm working on, that I'm very focused on. And then Warren Buffett said, and what about these other 20? He said, well, those other items, whenever I have some free time, I start to work on those other 20 projects. And Warren Buffett explained, he said, actually, those other 20 things, those are all of your distractions that are keeping you from being hyper-focused on your top 5 priorities. And those other 20 things are actually what are keeping you from becoming very successful. And that's the key here. The key here is every time that you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And this is a lesson that all of us need to learn in our own business and our own life. And so number 1, we got to figure out, what is your top priorities? What are the top things that you want to focus on in your business for this next year that are going to help you to actually grow and scale your company? And just because an opportunity comes to your door doesn't mean that you should be saying yes to that opportunity, especially if you're just getting started, or especially if you don't have a large network. You might be thinking about I can't remember his name right now, one of the original founders of Shark Tank. One of the ways that and I'm going to remember his name after I shoot this video, but one of the ways that he grows his business is by having strategic partnerships with other people. But he's already operating at a level that most of us are not operating at. And he's able to pay people to run each of those individual businesses for him. When we're just starting out and we're trying to scale our business from 0 or from 5,000 a month or 10,000 a month or to 50,000 a month, we are not able to focus on more than just one business at a time. Because every time we do that, we are splintering ourselves, we're dividing our focus, we're dividing our efforts, and then we're not able to grow our company and to scale it to the level that we could if we were solely hyper-focused on the project that is right in front of us. One of the big things that people like to do every year rolling around January the 1st is they like to make their big list of New Year's resolutions, or they like to map out a very detailed and complicated marketing plan or strategic plan for the entire next year. And what happens is they have all of these ideas and these plans. If you're very detailed, you may even be planning out what you need to get accomplished every single day, or maybe the 3 things you need to get accomplished every single day so that you can meet your goals. But what happens is we start to focus on fulfilling that plan and we fall behind because we're really good at thinking that, oh, I can get that done in an hour, and it doesn't take an hour. It never takes an hour. It's going to take 6 hours, or it's going to take a whole day, or you're going to have interruptions, or you're going to have blockers. And so we think, okay, I'm going to be able to get these 3 things done every single day. We start to work on it, we fall behind. So we didn't meet our goals. And so the next day, now instead of having 3 things on our list, we now have 6 things on our list. We have the 3 things for that day and the 3 things from the day before. And pretty soon, we're a week into it and we have 15 things on our list and maybe we've got 2 done. And we get discouraged and we think, oh, why should I even try? I'll never be able to be successful because I'm not able to keep up with this unrealistic plan that I have set for myself. Instead of saying, okay, I need to focus on the next 90 days on these 3 things. And this is going to be my primary focus. And anything else that comes in, any other opportunities that come my way, if they're not in alignment with these 3 things that I'm focused on for the next 90 days, then it's going to be no. And then I could put them on a list to say, oh, maybe later on I'm going to be thinking about them and maybe they're going to be my top 3 things or my top 5 things. But right now I'm going to be focused just on my top 3 or my top 5 projects that I'm working on. And another way to look at this as well, which is so important, especially if you're a mom or if you're a dad, if you have a family, is every time you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else, and usually that no is back to your family. A lot of us, by nature, we are very helpful. As entrepreneurs, we want to solve problems. If someone has a problem, we want to come in and figure out how to fix it, how to solve it. And every time we say yes to help someone else with their problem, what we're saying no to is more time with our spouse or more time with our kids. And as an entrepreneur, one of the things we have to always go back to and remember is, why are we doing this in the first place? We're doing this, we say, so we can spend more time with our families. And at the end of the day, we actually spend less time with our families because we're so focused on trying to make our business successful, which is why, again, it's so important to limit our number of projects that we're working on, focus on the top 3 or 5 projects at any given time, and make sure that we know that every time I say yes to something, what am I going to say no to? What am I going to take off of my plate? Because despite what we like to tell ourselves, we can't do everything.